You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the best North East football podcast going around. It's Three's a Crowd with Steve and Ted and myself, Rye. We wish you a very good morning. Hope you're all fantastic, safe and well in this beautiful and crazy world of ours. I'm joined, as always, by Steve Wraith and Ted the Mackem. You can make sure to follow them at NUFC Matters and at Ted the Mackem for your respective Newcastle and Sunderland news, and me, Adam Richter's, for your Middlesbrough news. We have got a massive show, an hour. We've wrangled Ted in. We've spoken to his agent. We've said, listen, we need him for a full hour. And his agent said, look, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. And we got him. So we've wrangled in Ted the Superstar for a full hour. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got to look backwards on some results, and we've got to look forward on some massive games coming up. Newcastle are playing Liverpool, Middlesbrough taking on massive Norwich City, and then Sunderland taking on Burnley on Monday night, I believe, Teddy Mackem. So you've got a bit of a wait still, Sunderland fans, but it will be a massive end to a January window. We've got a lot of departures and incomings to talk about. Not so much for Newcastle. PSR. I said it.
Tumbleweed. Bloody tumbleweed.
If you're playing Three's a Crowd podcast bingo, PSR, tick it off. We've already mentioned it. Welcome to everybody, and welcome to you, Teddy Mackems. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I want to start off with an apology. I apologies to my sister Gillian for wearing the glasses. I'll not say what she says I look like in these glasses. She's not a big fan of them, but my good ones are back at home. And yeah, I apologise. Speaking of which, the eagle-eyed among you last week will have noticed my little caption was "There's only one Gino." Yeah. Gino was in reference to my mother, who wasn't very well for a full week. She's been in hospital, lads. Really, really nasty infection. But as ever, in true Gino style, she's absolutely kicked its arse, and she's been released back into the home today. Mate, you don't mess with Gino. She's hard as using a Steve Wraith quote. She's as hard as goat's knees. She really is. So, big thank you to my sister Gillian, who's been looking after her and going into the hospital every day. So I want to get that out of the way with. Family is important, as you lads know. So yes, a big thanks to our Jill for doing that.
No, good on you, Gino. Good on you kicking it. And honestly, we should get all the parents on. Honestly, we should get some relatives on. I mean, we just get a relative show out there because they're all superstars, our family. And we love each and every one of them. And family always first, as always. And big shout out and love to Teddy Mackem's mum there. Teddy boy, been a good week for Sunderland. Not much in the incomings, but there's been a few outgoings that I want to talk to you about. But I have to say good morning to the big, beautiful Stevie Wraith, who's a bit sore. And I don't know about you, Ted, but when I look at him in the camera, right, I think, man, he's jacked. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to say, you know what I mean? I'm looking at him going, like, what are we doing? Game of Thrones appearance?
No, I've been to the gym today, as I often do. But they do a challenge every now and then at the gym, and they've done a press-up challenge this month. So it is the final day today, and we've had a lot of banter amongst the lads in the gym. But I managed to do 81 today, and I'm not feeling too good. So I'm pleased with that. 81. That's taken us into second place, which wins us a goodie bag as long as nobody beats me 81 by the time it gets to 4 o'clock. And by the way, there are people probably sitting at home waiting to get up there. They're going to go in at 5 to 4 and beat it. But credit to a guy. I will give him a shout out, even though he probably doesn't watch the podcast, called Raymond, who is 60, who has done 106.
That is incredible.
106. That's incredible. It really is. So well done to him.
Doing as many pull-ups as Ted's age. That is incredible. I mean, you can't.
No need. Absolutely no need.
little zinger for you there,
wow.
Teddy boy.
Zinger? That was a bouncer, mate.
Body line.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it. It's a massive week of football. obviously, Steve, it was a crazy weekend and week, for you. Obviously, Champions League against PSG and coming off the Aston Villa result. Let's talk about that first because Middlesbrough and Sunderland haven't played since last weekend. But I want to talk to you about the midweek game first against PSG. I don't want to look. I've obviously watched the back. Obviously, watching Newcastle Sunderland results just to keep my eye on it. The refereeing performance at that game was. I mean, we joke about Jared Gillette and we joke about the corruption, but I have never ever seen a worse refereeing performance than I have in a Champions League game in Paris. I mean, Paris, PSG versus Newcastle. Can you sum up your feelings as a Newcastle fan? Because as a neutral, mate, it was gross.
I mean, we went too early, I think, last week, praising the manner of the refereeing in the first Champions League, the Champions League game last week. It was superb. This week, we had the polar opposite. And one would, allege corruption if one believed that corruption existed in football. Because for example, could you imagine if a PSG official who was on the board was also part of UEFA? I mean, beggars belief if that would ever happen. Look, that's twice we've been to PSG. Twice they've tried to give a penalty against it and given a penalty against us, which wasn't a penalty. Absolutely disgraceful. It really was. And credit to Lewis Miley for bouncing back immediately.
Not wrong.
From that, because that's the kind of thing that can finish a 19-year-old's career. Never mind finish an 18-year-old game, but he rose above it and didn't react and came out with flying colours, marking one of the best players in his position out of the game. So credit to Newcastle, they bounced back early. Credit to Nick Pope, who's had a lot of stick, who saved that penalty brilliantly. Yep. And then credit to the rest of the team. I mean, I'm always reluctant when there's a performance like that by the team to pick out individuals, but Newcastle United dominated the second half, and there's no other way of describing it. They dominated the second half, and that come off the back of a really bad result against Villa. And Villa is the best team that we have played this season. I make no bones about it. That is the best team. That is the best team that Newcastle United have faced this season. Not Arsenal, not Manchester City. It's them. They are very, very, very good. And for Unai Emery to come up to Newcastle and to do that, 21 years since Villa had beaten Newcastle at St James's Park, he did a number on Eddie. And I've got to be honest, that after that, and that comes off the back of disappointing results at Manchester United and at Wolves, sandwiched in between there. I know there's been some wins, but there haven't been convincing performances. That led me really to before the game against PSG, really to say that if this continues, Eddie's job is under pressure. And I still believe that if we continue in the same vein in the Premier League, that Eddie's job could be under pressure at the end of the season. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I don't think that's negative. I'm not saying I want Howe out, I want Howe sacked. I'd love Howe to stay for the next 10 years. He's a great manager. He's very good. But I do think, and credit to him, he changed the formation. And that's what fans have been asking for. Why on earth, at Sunderland, when you're 1-0 down, didn't you bring Wisser on to play with Voldemort? Voldemort scored an own goal. He's looking for a chance to get back in the, to resolve it, but bring somebody on, give him a bit of support. Manchester United away, Newcastle dominated that game, and we didn't bring on an extra person. We're stuck with this rigid 4-3-3 and making the three substitutions. Wolves, an awful draw, but Newcastle, if they'd gone for it and pushed a man up front, gone to the three centre, gone three at the back and changed the formation, that would have been great. And three at the back's a way forward for Newcastle in this team. It showed. Alanga looked a different player against PSG. He had the freedom to get up there and use his pace, and he knew what he was doing in that formation. And I think, and again, this isn't a criticism. This isn't a criticism of Eddie Howe. This is praising Eddie Howe in a lot of ways, but it also shows that in football, sometimes you need a little bit of fortune. And when Kieran Clark got sent off against Norwich City, when Newcastle United were struggling, and Joe Linton got pushed into midfield in that game, he's been in midfield ever since. That was a fluke. It was a decision on the day to do something different, to see if it worked, to try and win or not lose a particular game that Newcastle couldn't afford to lose. against 10 men against a relegation rival, and it was a fluke that we found that. And look what Joe Linton's done. It's changed his career. It's won Newcastle a trophy, and it's changed the course of history. That one decision. I'm hoping that what happened the other night, because Dan Burn came back in, because Botman is back on form, and Botman and Chow are very, very good pairing, right? I've said I would say, the Botman we've been watching up until the last few games. I've been saying I would put him on. I would get rid of him. He's a sellable asset because he's just nowhere near what it was signed. But you know what? He's a different player now. He seems to have. He's got that run of games. He's got his fitness, and finally we're seeing the Botman who arrived at St James's Park. So because to play Burn, who's such an influential part in that dressing room and an influential part of the team, he's had to play 3 centre halves, and he's played 3 centre halves before, but. That's the reason, because he wants Burn in the team. He's too big a player to be sitting on the bench, and it's a plan B. It is a plan B. It is a plan B, and for me, he's changed his formation. So that's what you've got to do. And I'm not saying go out every game now with 3 at the back, Eddie, but at least you know now that you've got that opportunity now. You've got that in your locker, so use it. And if need be, you can go to 3-5-2. You can have Waldemar and Wissack playing up front. But you've got to be a bit more fluid. He said at the press conference yesterday, I'm always doing that. We change formation all the time. But you don't, Eddie. You don't, man. We can see it's 4-3-3 and you're doing the same old thing. So, look, well done to Newcastle. Credit to Newcastle. It's not a moan, and I think we're all very happy. But that's it. And look, as Craig says, you start with plan A, then change to plan B. He started with a back 3. That's his plan A. So I mean, look, I just genuinely think that it's just nice to see, and credit to the lads and everybody, Eddie and the team as well. It's stopped the negativity, because the negativity was getting out of control, and I can see it with my moderators on the channel. We've got a great set of moderators on NUFC Matters. A few of them watch the show. Jules and Les, watch every show, but they watch this as well. And, they were getting sick this week, absolutely sick, especially when we did the fans forum. The fans forum literally was like listening to the Samaritans. It was like listening to the Samaritans. And with the exception of George, who's in his 80s, everybody else was so negative. Everyone was, we're going to get beat 2-0, 3-0 off Paris Saint-Germain. And I can understand why people are saying that. I could understand it. We've just come off the back of a bad result against one of our rivals, off the back of other bad performances. I can understand. But, it's amazing what happens with one result. So let's see what happens now. We've got a huge, huge week. We've got tonight, obviously, against Liverpool. We've got Man City on Wednesday. Dare you believe? I said at the end of that game, it's half time. It's 2-0. But people go, but we don't win at Man City. Yeah, we don't, but it's a semi-final. Tell me the lads aren't motivated now after PSG. If they can get a point tonight or 3, because it's possible at Liverpool, let's face it, Sunderland know, they went down and put a great performance in there. If Newcastle play at the same level as they did against PSG, which they're more than capable of, Newcastle get a result tonight, Man City will not be looking forward to Newcastle going there. And Newcastle only need a draw, a 2-0 win, to make it 2-2, and we're in extra time and penalties. And Newcastle could find themselves in the Carabao Cup final again. Anyway, I've waffled on a lot.
No,
I'm happy. I'm a lot happier. I'm a lot happier than I was last week, lads. But it's got to be consistent. We need that consistency. And credit to Newcastle, because as well, this is the first time. Yes, we're in the playoffs, and we've got Karabag FC. And credit to me mates who've already booked up to go. I can't go. It's my birthday that week, so I'm out that day. But unfortunately for me, but the rest of the lads are going. But credit to Newcastle. This is the furthest we've ever gone in the competition. It's the furthest any North East team has gone in the Champions League, and that shouldn't go. If we get knocked out by Karabag FC, good, fair enough. But we've now gone further than anyone in the North East in this competition, and that in itself is a win. Financially, it's a win as well. Although we only get about £31 million for this. Can you believe that the teams, we finished 12th, we get £31 million, I think we've made so far. Teams below us, because they've been in the Champions League on a regular basis, get more than us. So there's teams below us have actually made 51, 61, 89 million. We've made 31. Where is the bloody? It's corrupt, isn't it? It's corrupt. Anyway, go on.
It's almost like there might be some corruption in football after all, Steve.
I think so. Yeah, we started with corruption. We've ended with corruption.
It's crazy, isn't it? Look, obviously, if you have just joined us, Newcastle will be going into a playoff leg against Qarabag FK. They are in the Azerbaijan League, I do believe. It'll be a 2-legger. The first leg is on the 19th of Feb, which for Newcastle fans is smack bang in the middle of Aston Villa FA Cup and Man City in the Premier League, which is a massive week. So that'll be the 15th for the game against Aston Villa. Then you got 19th of Feb against Qarabag away for the first leg as well, and then Man City away as well. So it's a massive week of Aston Villa away, Qarabag away, and Man City away. It's incredible. It's incredible for that week. And I look,
every week's a big week at the minute.
It is now. It is. And obviously looking at, like, let's just look at this again, because I know I harp on it again, but Newcastle play Liverpool away tonight, and then it's Man City in the leg 2 of 2 in the EFL Cup. You've then got Brentford at home. Then we go Tottenham midweek, Aston Villa FA Cup, Qarabag in the Champions League playoff, then Man City, then back to another playoff for against Qarabag at home. I mean, it's incredible month that February is now lining up. We're talking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in February now, Steve. I mean, for Newcastle fans to get to, and not only are they not only in England now. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible what that month is.
Credit to the lads, because the lads really have done so well. You know, in the sense
that's a lot of football, mate.
And I tell you what, and something which, you know, Eddie has said time and time again, the trouble with those players that we brought in, and he's reiterated a bit, and it jogged me memory, because he has said this before, is that we don't have time to train. And I probably went over the top a little bit on the channel talking about that when I said, well, everybody trains, and it's the same for everybody else. But I get what he means, because he emphasised the new players. That's what he was emphasising yesterday, which is different. When he's saying you haven't got time to train, the players all know each other, but Alanga doesn't, Ramsey doesn't, Ramsdale doesn't. You know, those new players, Voltemata, getting them up to speed has been the hard part. So getting them to understand, Wissett to understand the formations, the layoffs, how people play. If you can't train at the same intensity as you usually do, because you've got all of these fixtures, and that's it. So it's a learning process for Newcastle United as well. So fair play to the lads. They are getting there slowly but surely, and probably, you know, by the end of the season, you know, we'll probably click. So, you know, there'll be more players to bring in. I just, you know, look, tonight's a big opportunity really for the players now to say, actually, you know, there's a bit of pressure on me. Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes didn't start the other night. You know, let that sink in. Yeah. Harvey Barnes is our top goal scorer, full stop, this season. Yeah. And Anthony Gordon is the top scorer for Newcastle in the Premier League, and is 1 goal away from being the top goal scorer in our history in the Champions League, overcoming Alan Shearer's record. But that in itself is, you know, credit to the team. They learn to win. They're learning to win without what you would call blue chip players, and they're on the bench. That's what we need to do. We just need to do that, you know, and that's it, you know. Jules, you're right. Reflection, patience, and taking a moment, Steve, is so important. Not jumping on the bandwagon of social media witches. Yeah. It is, Jules, but again, football is an emotional business. Watch Rise live podcasts. If you ever get a chance to watch Rai, I don't do them, but Rai does them, and they're great. And that shows you the you know, the way he does it. That's how we get on so well, because he's got the same passion as I have, and Ted has about Sunderland, but he lives it out online, and it's. You know, we're all entitled to opinion, and I do say that is the mantra on NUFC Matters. Yeah. Everyone's opinion matters. You know, Peter Beardsley asked me last night, why is it, who came up with the idea of NUFC Matters? And I said, well, it was me. I said, I came up with it. And he says, well, why the name? And I said, well, because NUFC matters to everybody. I said, but everyone's opinion matters as well, Peter. So it's not just about my opinion; it's about everyone's opinion who watches and listens, and you know. And I said, that's the whole mantra about it. I said, but it's all about in the chat and whatever, just being able to have communicating and not falling out over things, because some people will think Nick Pope's the best goalkeeper, other people think Ramsdale, and we've had that this season. And those people who backed Nick Pope have been proved to be right. And then you've got arguments over, well, should Eddie Howe stay and should Eddie Howe go, which is ridiculous. I know, but people are entitled to an opinion about the manager's job. It'll always happen when bad results happen. So, it's what makes football great. It's what makes it so passionate, and it's what makes. And I never say Newcastle fans passionate. It's North East fans passionate. It's why we are the most passionate fans in the UK, because our lives rotate around our football club 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. We are always thinking about Newcastle United, Sunderland, or Middlesbrough, and that's just the way it is.
It is. The Northeast is unrivaled, and I live in Australia, and you cannot ever argue with me, even down here in Australia, that the Northeast is not the most passionate area for football. We live and we breathe it, and our clubs are everything to us. When they're losing, we are down, we are depressed, we are hating life. When they are winning, we are high, we are on, and it's all to do with our football club. And honestly, I think we are the most passionate and amazing fans in the whole world. And I stand on that till my deathbed comes. Teddy boy, on to you, mate. It's Mackem time. We've got not much news in terms of the games because we are still coming off the back of that bad loss to West Ham. But it has been a couple of departures this week we need to talk about. Most importantly, one for me, mate, is Dan Neil. Dan Neil has left and he's gone to Ipswich Town. Sorry about that. I just got a bit sick in my mouth. And he's got a problem with dissent, first and foremost, that we'll probably need to talk about at some point. But one thing that I loved was that Regis came out and actually spoke about Dan's importance to the Sunderland getting back into the Premier League, which I think was amazing. Not many managers sit there and talk about players that have left in the way that Regis has spoken about Dan Neil. I mean, he said that he should be proud about the huge impact he's had for his hometown club in Sunderland, and he wished the midfielder nothing but success as he goes. And obviously, he said that he had to have a tough conversation with him in the summer about Premier League and them changing the squad and stuff like that. And I thought that was really eye-opening as well to go to a young man who's just won promotion with his club back to the Premier League. And then he's had to have a tough conversation where he's probably being told, look, you're not going to probably play in the Premier League, even though you've done everything you can to get us there. I mean, how do you see Dan Neil's exit as a fan, and how do you think the fans are looking at Dan Neil's exit now, moving to Ipswich Town? I do believe they've got a chance to make it permanent in the summer if they want to. Obviously, Ipswich Town are chasing Middlesbrough's backsides, and they will do for the rest of the season because we're that good to get back into the Premier League. But I think it's an interesting one for Dan Neil.
It is. I mean, he's lived the dream. He's captained his hometown club, and while some fans have been critical about performances, again, look, we could lean towards this whole Northeast Big Three thing again, where we love nothing more than a young talent coming through, getting into the first team, and if you get one that actually captains the side as well, that's just an absolute Brucey bonus. And he has absolutely lived the dream. And he was important to us in League One, and he was that's where he made his debut in the senior team. Started coming through, and obviously as a leader, apparently a fantastic captain. Chris Rigg went on record to say he was the first to welcome him into the first team, and was very influential in developing him as a person and sort of adding some maturity to him, which is mad because Dan Neil's under 25 himself. He's conducted himself with a lot of maturity and a lot of professionalism. For whatever reason, he didn't want to sign the contract that was on offer. I think that's largely because it would have been a reserve kind of, an as and when you can play kind of contract. He was never going to get into the squad, unfortunately. It's the nature of the beast. We can't take everyone with us. And, Steve will have seen players come through Newcastle's championship side. Rye, you've seen it in the past where Middlesbrough have got promoted, and you can't take all of those players with you into the Premier League because there comes a point where they're just not good enough for that. And there'll be Sunderland fans arguing the point saying, well, he was never given a chance. But there was enough evidence there in the Championship that Dan Neil could be prone to getting the ball nicked off him, maybe just not being as sharp as what you need in the Premier League. You need people who are savvy, who can think very, very quickly, who've got a 360 camera around them and have that kind of awareness. and unfortunately, I just don't think Dan was going to make that grade. But a fantastic servant of the club. His statement was very heartfelt. He obviously he'd been to Wembley to see us as a fan back in the day. He will always be a Sunderland fan as well. We know that. It's sad to see them go. It really is. It's you want them to be. You almost want them to be better than they are, and for that need to have local icons coming through. But it's the end of an era. I mean, for all his age, he's actually been involved with the club for 18 years, right through the kids academies and all of that, right the way through to senior level. Fantastic, and a credit has to be given to Robin Nichols and the rest of the academy team, because what they are bringing through at this moment in time is absolutely startling. It really is. The academy is going full swing. You've got young Tutorov, who's on loan at Exeter at this moment in time, who's developing all the time. 2-in-2 games for him, and you could go right throughout. A lot of the young kids.
Salford are going absolutely incredible in League Two. I mean, Matt Young's incredible. He's the goalkeeper of the season in League Two.
Watch out for Matty Young, because we don't need a number 2 behind Robin Roofs. We don't need to sign one, because Matty Young is that goalkeeper. When we did radio and Matty Young was on loan at Darlington, remember having Steve Watson on, Steve?
Yep.
Who said at that age he is better than Jordan Pickford, which for me that says it all. People like Steve Watson know football well, and when somebody with that amount of knowledge can say that about a young keeper, then you sit up and take notice. So I think Patterson, maybe not this window, but Patterson will be peddled eventually, and I think Matty Young will be the guy who steps in, and why not? He's absolutely tearing it up down there. So a couple of exits made. Adji Alessi has gone out on loan as well. Again, he's one of these where he's a great player, and I honestly think he's actually built for the Premier League as well. He's got that kind of athleticism about him. It's just the injuries. He's so injury prone. You worry, and I'll keep an eye on it as well. This loan spell he's gone on, because if he breaks down in an injury this time, that's it. It's game over. He was signed from West Ham, and a lot of West Ham fans were actually upset that they let him go. Because they saw a lot of potential in him as well. And every time he's played for us, he's been fantastic, but it's just been few and far between because of those injury doubts.
Yeah, no, look, honestly, it's been quite tough. I think one of the big things for me, Teddy Boy, on the back of Dan Neil's exit as well, is the untimely injury to Xhaka. Now, I wonder, I just want to see on your thinking pattern there, do you think Dan Neil could have stepped in for Xhaka? I mean, obviously, Regis doesn't see it. He thinks that Dan Neil was still available to go. But, I mean, we have heard midweek that Xhaka's now going to be out for up to 3 games. I mean, do you think that there's good cover for the next 3 or 4 games there with letting Dan Neil go? Because for me, Dan Neil obviously would have been that Xhaka replacement.
No, it's he would have barely made the bench in light of the Xhaka injury, which, I mean, he's going to be out another 3 weeks. In that time, we have look, every game's a big game in the Premier League, of course it is, but even then, I think there's depth in the squad where, we might have to shuffle the system around. Regis Lebris actually said that in the presser yesterday, that we have to find a solution to that and maybe a different kind of shape. But for me, somebody like Gertrude, who can step in, he's the only one for me who can do that job that Xhaka does, where he drops deep and takes the ball off centre backs and then starts moves off. He's the kind of player that can come into that. Dan Neil's never going to be that kind of player. He's box to box. He likes to get forward a bit. We don't need that right now. We need somebody with a bit of discipline. If anything, if Gertrude doesn't get a go at it, I would honestly love to see Chris Rigg given a go at it. Because I honestly think that there's much more. It's been kind of unfair on Chrissy Rigg because he's been pushed out on the right-hand side when he's played. That's not his game. He came through as a youth player in a central position. Excuse me. We've got a Saharan dust cloud over here at the minute. It's absolutely killing me. It's torture, absolute torture. I would love to see Chrissy Rigg given that goal, because when he talked about, Granit Xhaka coming into the club, and he said there was absolutely nobody better who he could learn his trade from. He's a left-footed centre midfielder. Chrissy Rigg likes a tackle as well. For all he's very slightly built. He needs to put a few puddings down him, and fill out a bit. But somebody like Riggy could actually step into that role eventually. I'm not saying right away. But the strength and depth in that midfield, we've got Habib Diarra, that's going to be like a new signing for us.
Yeah.
He got on in the second half against West Ham. He was probably one of the biggest positives out of that game in general. There weren't many to pick from, but yeah, listen, the strength and depth there, I don't think it would have affected the decision at all. In fact, they knew about Xhaka's injury anyway, and they've still let Dan Neil leave. So I don't think he was ever in the reckoning, mate. And that's I've got every faith in Labrice's decision-making process.
Well, there you go. It's been a massive week for Sunderland. We're going to look forward, obviously, to that game against Burnley. It's time now for Middlesbrough news. Middlesbrough have had a massive week in terms of transfer front. Obviously, we haven't played since that fantastic 4-0 win over Preston North End, but we've managed to bring in Jeremy Sarmiento, who is on a loan contract till the end of the season, but the option to make it permanent. I think this is a massive signing, Borough fans, because one thing for me about Jeremy Sarmiento is we look about 2 seasons ago, he won Premier League promotion with Ipswich. We look at last season, he won Premier League promotion with Burnley, and now he's in Middlesbrough's ranks. And I think he's an exciting Ecuadorian talent that just looks absolutely fantastically built for the championship. It has been the likes of Delano Bergzorg leaving Middlesbrough's ranks. Delano Bergzorg is going to be one that I think you can sort of... It's going to divide opinion, isn't it, Borough fans? I mean, for me, he's a fantastic person who is one of the most frustrating footballers on his day. I mean, his ability to get into the right positions and make those crucial runs are fantastic, but he's also one of the most frustrating players to be in the right position and not pick out the perfect pass or lay it off. And there was so many times this season and last season that Delano frustrated not only me, but I think some of the fans in the Middlesbrough ranks as well. But he's moved to Bristol City to join Neto Borges on loan there. I think there's going to be another departure in the next 24 hours as well, Borough fans. I think we're going to see Sophia Nipan recalled by Man City. He's just not getting a first-team game, and they want to see his loan develop. Obviously, they've got a young player on their ranks. They want to see him get some game time within Middlesbrough, and I just don't think he's going to get it, especially with the likes of Alan Brown. And happy last Matt Targett recall day for those that celebrate as well. Newcastle won't be recalling. I've spoken to Steve. I've also rang Newcastle and said, like this, and they're not going to recall Matty Targett. We need him more than they do. So happy no recall for Matt Targett Day for those that celebrate as well, because Matt Targett's been absolutely influential at our level. It's a massive, massive push now to the end of the season. We sit second. We've got a 5-point lead now on Ipswich Town in third, which is absolutely massive. And I can't remember a better time for Middlesbrough to be in this position at this stage of the season than under Aitor Karanka, in which we got promoted. I mean, and we've also been scored. We've created the most chances in the championship for the past 3 weeks, and we've scored the most amount of goals as well. We take on Norwich City today at home, which is going to be a fantastic thing. But I do still think we are one striker short. We have seen the return of David Strelic come back this week in training. David Strelic was a massive signing. We saw him score that fantastic goal in the International Cup. Against Germany. He's a fantastic talent, and I think you've got to look at the return of him like a new signing, much like what Teddy Boy said as well about certain players coming back. I think David Strelic can be like that for us in a number 9 role. Middlesbrough have got to make sure that we have got the right 25-man squad to get us through to the end of the season, because we have got tough tests. There's no cups. There is no nothing. There's just nothing but league football, and there is a good chance that we could slip into the playoffs as well if Ipswich Town or results go against us. We're going to need a team that can roll into those playoffs. The likes of Matty Targett, the likes of Alan Brown on loan have been absolutely influential. And I think if there's another chance there to fill the squad with another loan or something like that, then that needs to be explored. But please don't underestimate the signing of Jeremy Sarmiento, who is an absolute talent. He's going to light up the Riverside and the away day fixtures. He is fantastic to watch on the ball. He's exciting. Think of Dharma. Think of those sorts of players that take their man on and hold the ball on. And we needed that. We needed that. We needed that. We need that type of player, because we've seen that where we get stuck outside that area and we're just passing around. We need that player that can get it on the front foot and take a defensive team on, because teams that sit back against Middlesbrough are going to find out very quickly that Sarmiento is not someone that you can sit back on. I think it's going to be very, very exciting. Lads, we have looked backwards. We are going to look forwards. We have got 3 massive games. Obviously, Middlesbrough taking on Norwich. We've got Sunderland taking on Burnley, and obviously Liverpool versus Newcastle United. We're going to look at that. But before we do that, it's time for everyone's favourite time of the week. It's time for Troll of the Week.
And breaking news, Donald Trump has just ended the war between the Beckhams. Some great stuff this week, by the way. I love this. An Everton fan who managed to get two seats from Goodison Park when they moved stadiums has put them in his garden. Look at that. Excellent. He's got them positioned outside, ready as a sun trap right outside his door. Love that. We do like to feature a bit of food on here. We all like our food. And as we know, Ted, you like to cook a bit. How about this for a burger at Wrexham? £9.50 for that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm all about that.
Got you slabbering, hasn't it? That one, definitely. When you have to go in for an operation and things need changing, we all know the situation. It can happen to anybody. I like it when people come out with a footballing idea. There was a guy who, unfortunately at Leeds, was diagnosed with cancer of the eye and had to have an eye removed. So he's got the Leeds badge on his new eye.
That is tremendous.
Oh,
that is tremendous.
Wow.
Fair play.
Talk about support.
And as we know as well, some people have artificial limbs. How about this? The new Manchester City leg. He's got the badge on as well. Get the badge in, son. Get the badge in. Excellent.
He's got the second leg on Wednesday, hasn't he?
Hey, he has. You'll find a man. You've just got to put yourself out there. That was what somebody said when you saw the back of this football shirt.
Look at me.
Yeah, number 1 throat goat. I'm not sure what that means. And Jake Powell. Nice ticket controls, Man City, surrounded by Galatasaray fans lighting cigarettes on the concourse.
Oh my God.
I do like these European games, lads. And Bournemouth versus Liverpool. There's the heat map. Don't know who draws these days. And I did love this at that game. That's what a super chat's for, isn't it?
What? Oh, don't give me ideas. What time's your kickoff, Ryan?
I don't know what you're talking about, Ted. We're not doing it.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. Just booked over 50 hotel rooms in Stuttgart with free cancellation for the 18th and 19th of February, just to drive up the price for Celtic fans, says this Rangers supporter. And why am I unzipping my coat and taking my hat off when it's Baltic and these can sneak their own light show in? This made me laugh as well. The comments on this one were brilliant. Truer away, but 320 miles away at home. Come on, Braintree. Somebody said, "You're not quite at the game, mate. You're not actually at the game." I think he knew that. And the winner this week was this by a country mile. Just got the keys to my new house. Who's coming round for a cuppa? You ain't got no cups. If you've got any wonderful footballing tweets, get them over to us. Any website matters, 1892@gmail.com, or send it to the lads on the social, and we will play the cat next week.
Good morning and welcome back to Three's a Crowd podcast, the only Northeast football podcast where we bring a Mackem, Geordie and a Middlesbrough fan all together to discuss, banter and have a bit of a laugh about the best footballing teams in the Northeast. It is incredible to have your company and we thank you all for watching along and enjoying our content as always. We are live every weekend with Three's a Crowd. We are looking forward now. If you missed any part of the show, you can watch it back on NUFC Matters on YouTube, at Ted the Mackham on YouTube as well, or at Invictus. And we will obviously answer any questions in the comments as well as best as we can. Let's look forward now, as Middlesbrough have got a fantastic opportunity to solidify that top 2 position against Norwich at Norwich against, oh my God, my words! Against Norwich at the Riverside Stadium. I'm struggling. I had a big cough at halftime. And then Newcastle are obviously away to Liverpool, and then Sunderland do not play till Monday night against Burnley. So we're going to look forward to that one. Let's kick it off with you, Teddy boy. Obviously, Sunderland going to have Burnley coming to the Stadium of Light on Monday night, I do believe. It's going to be after the transfer window shuts. Are we expecting, first and foremost, any incomings to the Sunderland squad, do you think, before the transfer deadline? We've spoken already about Dan Neal's departure, maybe Patterson. We saw, Alessi obviously moving as well. What are you thinking in terms of incomings and outcomings before we even get to Burnley? And then how do you see, Sunderland taking on Burnley at home on Monday night?
I don't think there's any real need to buy anyone right now. I mean, so far this season, we're far exceeding any expectations. So, the idea was to stay in the division. I think we've got more than enough about that squad to actually stay in the Premier League this time around, which I never thought it could be this kind of comfortable this early. But, it's looking good for that anyway. Yeah, for that reason, I can't see us bringing anyone in. We've got to keep our powder dry a little bit with obviously, I'm going to say it, PSR. We've got to look towards next season and figure out what we can actually spend next season as well. So I think it's a bit of clever work. Maybe a loan deal if there's an attractive one out there. But right now, no, I can't see it. I think it will be a case of clearing the decks a little bit more. There's been some surprising rumours, in terms of Isidore was linked with the move to Besiktas, because this is the merry-go-round that the Tammy Abraham transfer caused. So there was a rumour there. There was also a rumour that Paris FC were actually taking a look at Mayenda. But none of this, I don't think, is going to materialise. We're not in a position to let key players like that go. Yeah. And they're important to the squad right now. Brobby's the man in form right now. Obviously, the one man. Well, he's a one man army. To be fair, let's face it, he's a tank. But despite that, we need strikers to play off him. Somebody to offer something a little bit different. And Isidore and Mayenda both do that. So I don't think they'll be moving on anywhere. But yeah, in terms of coming in, I don't think we'll expect to see anything different in terms of the team he fields against Burnley. It's an important game though, because in terms of being able to arrest that really poor showing against West Ham, we need a performance out of it. And this is a game where we should be looking to take 3 points. They're down there for a reason. They haven't particularly played well. They've had some decent results, mind you. They've nicked results here and there, and they're not absolutely awful. But yeah. Listen, we need to see a performance without Xhaka as well. Yeah. That's going to be the key thing, and I'm kind of almost excited to see what Régis Lebris has got planned for this, because he's talking about a different shape. Maybe just maybe we actually go and see a 4-4-2. We did it effectively against Sheffield United in the playoffs. It's something that we don't play an awful lot of. Me being a purist and a tiny little bit younger than Steve, we remember that nearly everything was 4-4-2 back in our heyday. Yeah. So I would love to see that. I really would. And I would just like to see an attacking performance, one where we can actually just get the monkey off our back, get 3 points, and let's move on. And we edge ever closer to that target. If there's any signings coming on Monday, it'll be an absolute surprise to me. The ones who I would have loved to have gone for somebody like Tammy Abraham. The Mateta one is a bit of a weird one as well, because you would think, if he's looking to move away from Crystal Palace, surely he's moving to a club that's going to offer him serious European football. He's got to Forest, who, they're offering European football, but let's be honest, they're a bit of a car crash club. So surprised at that one. 35 million. not a bad deal, to be fair. But still a bit too rich for our tastes, I think, at this moment in time. So, yeah, let's get the 3 points. Let's beat Burnley. Let's move on and let's just have it's going to be a late night for me on Monday, but there you go.
It is going to be a late night. Obviously, Burnley have decided to stick with Scott Parker, which has been interesting to me. I think Burnley have been sort of floating around that area where you think Scott Parker might not be able to continue, but obviously they did a fantastic job in the championship, and it does look like they are going to be bouncing back down to the championship if the results were to continue for them. Obviously, Sunderland looking to solidify their place. You're still just under those 40 points needed, that magical number, Ted, that everyone's talking about staying in the Premier League, which would be the goal, I think, from the start of the season. Obviously, it's a tough run for Sunderland, though, after Burnley, mate. You got Burnley at home, but then we've got Arsenal away. You then go to Liverpool. You host Liverpool, and then you got Oxford United, I think, in the fourth round of the FA Cup, which obviously will be a little bit of a...
that's 9 points and progress through to the next round. Yeah, well, what's the problem?
It's going to be an interesting run into February, I think. And obviously, we spoke about the amount of games Newcastle have. Well, with your progress in the FA Cup, you do have a lot of games coming through February. And it's going to be interesting to see where Sunderland end up at the end of February. Mind you, as well, where Xhaka is going to come back into this squad as well, because obviously he's a massive, massive out. And I think it can't be undescribed, unnoticed about how important Xhaka has been to your squad this season, Teddy boy. And Rajiv saying yesterday that he's going to be missing for the next 3 games.
We can't be known as a one-man team. That's dangerous. I don't think we are. But at the same time, the absence was very, very noticeable, especially that first half against West Ham, because at 2-0 down, you're getting a dressing down from Xhaka on the pitch. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
And we kind of missed that. So we need some of the more senior players to really step up in this next week. Tom Dixon just asked, where do I expect to finish in the league? Good question, Tom, because, even up till about last month, I was saying, hey, 17th will do me. That'll be absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Now, I think it would be a shame if we didn't finish top 10. Because of the start of the season.
That's reasonable. I think top 10. I think top 10 is achievable.
Yeah. Honestly, 10th or above would be absolutely amazing. I'd be more than happy with 10th place finish this season, without a shadow of a doubt. So that's where I'm going to hang me hat on, Tom. I'd hang me hat on now, but my hair's a clip.
Well, I wanted to bring this up to you as well, because the supercomputer has been out this week, lads, and it has predicted the end of the season Premier League table. And I wanted to think about your thoughts about this. They have predicted, now this supercomputer puts all of your money into RAM and AI and everything like that. I don't know how it does it, but it's smarter than all of us, apparently. It is predicted that Newcastle will finish 7th on 54 points and Sunderland will finish 14th on 49 points. The 3 teams to be relegated will be West Ham, Burnley, and Wolves, and Arsenal will win the league. Ted, 14th, 49 points. You'd take that, right?
Mate, this is the same supercomputer that had us relegated by Christmas, so you can shove your Sinclair ZX Spectrum up your backside and crack on. Yeah, it's an absolute load of tosh. I don't know who writes this crap. Honestly, I really don't.
It's me.
It's Steve. No. It's Steve. Steve is the supercomputer. Trust me. We put our brains together. Over to you, Steve. Obviously, Newcastle have got a tough away trip to Liverpool tonight. It's going to be a massive game in terms of where Newcastle can look to solidify their position in the top half of the Premier League. As I said, the supercomputer has Newcastle finishing 7th on 54 points, obviously behind Liverpool on 63 points, who they are predicting to finish 6th. Arne Slot is under the most immense pressure I've ever seen. He's come out midweek and he's even said that people are saying that, I'm nowhere near what Jurgen Klopp was. Well, it took Jurgen Klopp 3 years to win the title. With him at Liverpool, it took me 1 season, which I thought was a bit of a cheeky stab. And it's obviously there's a lot more now when it comes to Liverpool and Newcastle because of the Isak. I think now, obviously, Isak is out injured. He's sitting back. He's making ratatouille and probably enjoying that tonight while he watches the game on the sidelines. But there's a little bit to this for me as a neutral watching the game than there is for Newcastle fans going against Liverpool because of the Isak situation. How do you see Newcastle Liverpool playing out?
I think, first of all, the supercomputer needs to be rebooted. Although Newcastle's away fixtures are ludicrous. Our away form has been the talk of the town. Everybody's really bamboozled why Newcastle, haven't really been on form away from home. And you've already mentioned our fixtures. Well, let's just remind people that we've got to play Spurs away. We've got to play Man City away. We've got to play Chelsea away, Crystal Palace away, Arsenal away, Fulham away, Nottingham Forest away. And that is our away fixtures till the end of the season. So it's tough. Can we finish 7th? Would I be happy with 7th? I'd take it. But if Newcastle can do what we know they're capable of tonight and in future games, Newcastle could finish in the Champions League positions again. They could do, because we're capable of beating anybody on our day. So it will be interesting to see. I think Sunderland will finish top 10. I don't think Sunderland will finish 14th. I think the supercomputer is more wrong about Sunderland than Newcastle on this occasion.
Wow.
But it's such a tight league this season that
it is.
Positions will be decided. This will be like that season, Newcastle United under Mike Ashley were only going to pay bonuses if Newcastle finished in the top 10. And on the last day of the season, Newcastle, I think, were 3-0 up against West Brom, which they were comfortably in the top 10. I think they would have finished 8th that season. And we drew 3-3 and we finished 12th. So it's going to be one of them. It's going to be, and we didn't pay the bonus. We didn't get any bonuses. Yeah. Nobody got a bonus at all.
That's funny how that worked out.
It is, isn't it? But that's what we're facing this season. The last game of the season, I think they'll get the perfect end of season. I think the league could be decided then, and I think the last relegation places can be decided then, and Europe will definitely be decided then. I think the last weekend will be a big weekend this weekend. So I think Newcastle and Sunderland could be jockeying for a position. It could go to a position where Europe could go to the northeast, and it could be a northeast shootout. It could be.
That's exciting, though, isn't it? I mean, that's what you want the Premier League to be about, right? You don't want it to start in February.
Newcastle or Sunderland both might have to win, and we could end up.
We've got Chelsea at home last game of the season as well, which they're going to be gunning for a Champions League position.
We got Fulham away, so that's what could happen. Yeah. But I think it'll be a lot closer. I think Sunderland have proved beyond all reasonable doubt that they aren't a one-trick pony. They've got to bounce back to their mind. If they don't bounce back today, then there'll be question marks. But I think the supercomputer is talking rubbish. Liverpool tonight. It's interesting because the home game at the start of the season.
What a game that was.
Newcastle United really, let it slip. 10 minutes of added time, of course. But another sucker punch at home. Liverpool aren't very good at the back. Let's face it. Newcastle have got a decent back four. And Newcastle's back four, with the exception of Tino Livramento, who's out, are firing on all cylinders at the minute. So that's good news. Liverpool are missing Connor Bradley, Joe Gomez, Ibrahim Konate, Giovanni Leone and Jeremy Frimpong all out. There's a Swedish bloke not playing either. So we've got, we can get into these. We can get into these. We can score goals. They'll be on a high after winning 6-0 against Karabakh FC. But they've got a problem at the moment. They're drawn too many games. I think it's all set for a draw. I think Newcastle's capable of scoring down there. I think Liverpool will score against Newcastle. I think Ekatike will certainly find a way past Newcastle today. But I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw tonight.
Teddy boy, Liverpool, Newcastle.
Well, he's stolen me thunder yet again, because I was actually going to go for a high scoring draw because there's always goals in this. Absolutely always. Wouldn't it be funny if Newcastle and Sunderland got relegated and Borough went up? No? Anyway, who lets these people on? Was that one of yours?
He's in the pub early. I love Stephen.
And listen, I don't think Newcastle have got anything to fear with this. All right, their away form has been sketchy, certainly in the Premier League, but nothing to fear. This actually could be a way to get the confidence back with their away fixtures. Liverpool are leaky. without a shadow of a doubt. I think they can get at them. I think certainly with set pieces, Newcastle can get at them as well. I think, I'm seeing a draw, and I'm going to go for the 2-2 draw, but it wouldn't massively surprise me if Newcastle come away with all 3 points with this. It really wouldn't. But
yeah,
I'm going to hang my hat on the draw. But like I say, Liverpool are just, they're not with it this season. So, whether Slot actually survives this season or not is another thing altogether. But yeah, I think a point for Newcastle out of this one.
I actually predicted Newcastle to get this one, 2-1 victory for Newcastle. I think it was just going to be off the back of the PSG result. I think the teams are firing, and I just don't think Liverpool... there's just going to be something there, I think, for Newcastle players just to get up and about, especially in front of, the Anfield crowd, and obviously the Isaac thing, I think, which has still been lingering on, even as we talk into the second half of the season. I think there's still bitterness within that Newcastle squad to make sure that Liverpool don't walk away with a point, let alone take anything from that game. So I think Newcastle will win that one 2-1. Steve, I'm not sure I got your prediction. I do apologise about the Sunderland-Burnley game as well.
Yeah, Sunderland-Burnley, I think Sunderland will bounce back today. I think Lebris will find a way to win without Xhaka. I think Burnley, despite having Martin Dubravka in brilliant form this season, I think they'll score Burnley. I think most teams have found a way past Sunderland in some way, or shape or form this season, except Newcastle. But it's a 2-1 win for me, for Sunderland.
Yeah, I went a 1-1 draw for you on Monday night there, Teddy boy. I just think without Xhaka, I think obviously, and I know we talk about that, and I wanted to touch on that as well. We talk about not being a one-man team. Well, it's funny enough that each 3 of the Northeast football teams have the most influential footballer in their club being in the midfield. We've got Hayden Hackney, you've obviously got Granit Xhaka, and you've got Bruno Guimaraes, obviously, over at Newcastle United. I think without any one of each one of our teams, without that one player, and I know we're not a one-man, we're not a one team, but I know for a significant amount that if we miss Hayden Hackney for any stage this season, we struggle. And I think it's likely for Bruno and Xhaka at respective.
We've never won a game without Bruno playing.
Exactly. So I mean, and I know we're not trying to say that Sunderland are a one-man team, but I just think Xhaka is like that. I think he's the Bruno, the Hayden Hackney of Sunderland. So I think it's going to be very interesting.
There's a reason why captains tend to be centre midfield players, because they have such a pivotal role in the game, and that they have that control. So it's not surprising that in the 3 players you've mentioned, I think are massively instrumental in the success of the 3 sides. That's
all 3 captains.
It's an absolute given.
Mids. It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, they're all centre defensive mids as well, Teddy boy.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, to use an American footballism, they're the quarterbacks, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's essentially their role. So it's hugely important, and it doesn't surprise me as much as Bruno's not my favourite player for obvious reasons. It's no wonder why Newcastle miss him when he's not playing, because he's a terrific player. He really is. But now I feel sick saying that. My prediction, my prediction for Monday night for Sunderland, I can see a 2-0 win.
2-0 to Sunderland. There you go. I went for a 1-1 draw. Obviously, I think it's going to just be one of those peg backs, and I think.
Thank you for not cursing us.
I just think Burnley play that ugly style of football just to try and get anything out of the game at the moment. I think Scott Parker. Do you remember last season? I mean, in the Championship, they were just so ugly to play against.
They just bought their way to promotion, mate. Absolutely. By the way, any Burnley fans watching, thank you for sending those tickets back. Couldn't even sell out an away trip to Sunderland. It's 2.5, 3 hours away, man. Come on.
Yeah. No,
absolutely abysmal. They've sent tickets back. So, this all the massive Burnley atmosphere that they have, and yet they can't sell all their tickets. So, you deserve everything who's coming to you in relegation.
Middlesbrough take on Norwich City at 3 p.m. It's going to be a massive game for Middlesbrough because Norwich have found some form under Clement. Obviously, the ex-Rangers manager is now there in charge after Liam Manning got the sack. Middlesbrough go in as the team that's created the most chances and scored the most amount of goals in the Championship for the past 3 weeks straight. Kim Hellberg has got us firing, but we've also got the boosting sighting of Jeremy Sarmiento. Kim Hellberg played down the fact that he might not start because he hasn't been training with the first team squad for a couple of weeks. Obviously, he was left out of his current loan, but he has been brought in to light up the Riverside, is what Kim Hellberg described him as, and I think he's going to do that. I think think he'll be on the bench today, but look for the inclusions of David Strelic and the return of my GOAT, Riley McGree, Middlesbrough fans. I think he's going to maybe start today, if not Leo Castle-Dean as well, to continue his fantastic form. He's one of the top scorers in League One, came up to the Championship, and I loved what Leo Castle-Dean was about against Preston North End last week. Middlesbrough have scored 4 goals last week. They had a red card against us, against Preston North End as well. I think today we're going to be able to be buoyant as normal. I'm going for a big 3-0 win today. I just think Middlesbrough just have got something. We've found something under Kim Hellberg, and I just love his tactical brain. The way he speaks in press conferences is just so intelligent, and the way he was analysing Norwich, and it's just, you could listen to that man all day. It's like watching one of those masterclass videos on YouTube when you sit down there and watch his press conferences. I'm absolutely in awe of the brain that Kim Hellberg has when it comes to football and his love and passion. And he was buoyed by the fact that his family moved from Sweden yesterday as well. He's got his 2 kids at home now and his wife there. And I think that's just this big family affair. And I think Middlesbrough are going to be able to continue that. I just don't think we're going to classically Middlesbrough this up this season, and I've maybe put the jinx on us, but I just don't think. Look at that's the side. Kim Hellberg's brain's bigger than that. I think we are going to be able to hold on to second place. And Ipswich Town have given us a good chance to hold on with 5-point gap as well. Coventry seem to be slipping up, lads. Big 3-0 win for Middlesbrough against Norwich City at the Riverside. Teddy boy, I'll start with you, mate. Middlesbrough, I'm in love with them at the moment, mate, as much as I am every day, mate. But I just, sitting in second, I'm daring to dream, mate, and I'm starting to get that little bit anxious about how positive this season could be.
In the 1.5 seasons that we've been doing this show,
yeah,
I never had on my bingo card Steve showing a picture from Mekon from Dan Dare Comics. That is such a niche sci-fi comic book reference. I've got so much more respect for you for finding that. That is just incredible. Absolutely incredible, Steve. Yeah, that's blown me away a little bit. That's a hark back to my childhood for sure. But anyway, listen, it's all looking very, very positive in Borough's Garden at this moment in time. Hellberg's family moving over. That's of course going to be a massive thing for him. Yeah. He's coaching well, clearly. The team got some real belief about them, and that's why I'm going for 0-0.
Right, let's get Ted off the air quickly because he's obviously drunk. He's got paint fumes going through his head. Stevie, thank you so much. That was what we needed to have. And Steve, obviously, Middlesbrough are looking to continue that bounce. Norwich are in good form. They are relishing down in 17th in the table, mate. But under Clement, they've got in the form table, they're second, I do believe, behind us. It's going to be an interesting affair today. But Middlesbrough sitting in second. I'm daring to believe. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm putting the house. It's scary, Steve. I just want to be in the Premier League with you two so badly that I'm riding every single minute of it. How do you see Middlesbrough taking on Norwich City at home this afternoon?
Norwich might be in the form table, but they're down at the bottom, aren't they? They're down at the bottom end of the table. Yeah, this is a win. This is a win for Borough. I'm going to go 3-1. I think they're going to tear a strip off Norwich today. So yes, it'll be a 3-1 win for the Borough and another step towards promotion, mate.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic if we can do it. I tell you what, lads, it's a massive, massive season, not only for Middlesbrough, but for all 3 North East clubs. You've got Sunderland, Newcastle in the Premier League, Newcastle tearing it up in the Champions League. They've got their playoff final now. Middlesbrough sitting in second. What a time to be a North East football fan, am I right? I tell you, all 3 clubs are absolutely up and firing, and it's going to be a fantastic end to the season, and we're going to be with you every step of the way right here on Three's a Card. We thank each and every one of you for joining us. Thank you for over 500 of you watching us live right here on Three's a Crowd for your Saturday morning. We do appreciate it, and we do thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for continuing to support this little pod, and we absolutely love it. We love getting together and having a chat every weekend right here on Three's a Crowd. Good luck to Newcastle taking on Liverpool. If you are going to that game, please be safe and enjoy that. Good luck to Sunderland taking on Burnley on Monday night, that is. It's going to be a late one for those that are watching it internationally like Ted and I, but please travel safe and enjoy that game. And for those Middlesbrough fans attending at home this afternoon against Norwich, be loud, be proud, because Kim Hellberg has got us playing some fantastic football. We will be back next weekend to look back and look forward and enjoy everything that is North East football. Thank you so much for joining us on Three's a Crowd. It's bye for now.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat, it's a promise.